everyone, we're glad that you're here. And we are really excited about today. I have some of my dear friends here. So in the background, you're going to see Jane, who's going to be answering some questions along the way. So she's one of my Swizznet buddies. And then also we have Sam here. I'm going to introduce Sam a little bit more in a second, but you're seeing him on screen. So I want to make sure that I call out that these are our friends and we're glad that they're joining us today.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so excited about today's drink.
Oh my gosh. I know. I was saying earlier that that's a showstopper. So what we're going to be going through is tuning up your QuickBooks before moving to the cloud. So we're going to go through, what does that mean? What are those steps that you should be taking? Who should be doing this? And then ultimately, what would it look like once you get into the cloud? So I'm very happy with our Swizznet buddies that are here. But first, Heather, will you introduce yourself?
I will introduce myself. So I feel like I'm already in the room with 27 of my closest friends in Zoom and several people out on Facebook land. But I'm Heather Satterley, if I don't know you, and I'm an accountant and CPA in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. And I have two companies, Satterley Training Consulting, which is a training and consulting firm, imagine that, that focuses on process automation and helping people get the most out of their QuickBooks software and their ecosystem. And then I also have an accounting firm, Satterley Accounting Services, where we do, full service bookkeeping and tax services for our small to mid-sized clients.
So you got a lot going on. And
I got a lot going on.
I think that that's one of the things that makes us really great friends is, we both have got stuff that we're doing that's fun and that we share our excitement with everyone. And the funnest thing that we do is the happy hour. So we love all of our people that join us. And here's where we get to talk about tech. Here's where we get to talk about how do we use it. Because once upon a time when we were on the road, we were able to share tips and tricks with people live. And what we kept on hearing was just show us how. So that's the biggest part of happy hour, is making sure that everyone is up to date on what all is available to us. Heather, do you want to say our thank you to our new champagne sponsor?
Yes, so this is exciting. This is our first episode of 2022. And so a huge thank you to our champagne level sponsor for 2022, Practice Ignition. As you all know, I've been a Practice Ignition user for several years. Love Practice Ignition. It is a core part of our tech stack in both of my companies. And so I am just so excited to have them on board as our champagne level sponsors. And what's really exciting is we're going to be having 2 deep dive sessions. The first one starting next week, where we're going to teach folks how to get up and running using Practice Ignition. And we are going to, Liz and I have created a little mini library of templates that you can use if you sign up. So excited about that.
Absolutely. Yep. So we're going to do a deep dive part 1 and part 2 that will take place next week. So
starts next week. Yes.
Yeah. So lots happening in January. And then I want to also say thank you to Swizznet. And they are here and they're helping us with understanding how best we can host our QuickBooks. And their tagline is the way accounting should be. So that encompasses, I think, a great vast number of topics for me, but one of them that Swizznet, many of you who are familiar with them, they know, the support is outstanding. So my experience was hands-on with the client, and the support was where I was just absolutely blown away and wowed. It was very easy to get connected, set up, and I had some very unique, specific apps that needed to be utilized. And so this was the only environment that I could have that unique set of apps that would work for my client. And I want to also introduce my good bud, Sam. Sam's here. Do you want to go ahead and say hi?
Yes, I will say hi. And I will also say that I am guilty of the pets and outfits. This is our senior that's recovering from surgery. So she's going to be joining us from my lap, and I apologize for that in advance. So yeah, excited to be here. Longtime listener, first time caller, and been with Swizznet for about 6 years and have helped oodles and oodles of people with this decision to move to the cloud and really managing that internally and helping it go as smoothly as possible. So looking forward to talking today about that.
And Sam, you've got your hands in a lot of different pieces, and the product management part, you really have, whenever I'm talking to you about Swizznet, you've got such a vast knowledge, and there's probably not a tech area that you aren't able to help in the Swizznet space. So we're lucky to have you here.
I appreciate that. You're too kind.
Well, we are going to be talking about tuning up your QuickBooks before you're moving to the cloud and what all is involved in that. This is the perfect time to be having this conversation because here we are. So I can't believe that it's happened already, that we're actually almost halfway through January. And that's super weird because I don't know what happened to 2021. And I feel like, 2020 was just, it happened to us.
True.
Yeah, it feels odd to be inside of January. Although I think I like writing 2022 way better than 2021.
Yeah, it is fun. It's definitely 2022 is good. Yes.
It is. But whenever we're thinking about year end, this is where a lot of times I wait to do things with my clients that are massive projects until the year end. And I want to be able to start them off in a new space with new ideas. I think that a lot of times whenever I'm working with my clients, they put on hold a lot of implementation until the beginning of the year. And November, December, what we experience is our clients go quiet and they go dark because they want to enjoy the holidays just like we do. And then in January, I'm sure all of you are experiencing this too, but all of a sudden it's like they woke up from a deep slumber and here they are and they're ready for everything all at once.
Yeah, and absolutely, Liz. And I think the other thing that I would say is that, clients that had reached out in the fall are like, okay, let's go. Right. So new clients that had reached out in the fall are emailing. They're saying we're ready to go. Let's get this show on the road. And we're also have, I don't know about the rest of you, but we're getting, 2 or 3 leads a week of new small businesses that are like, okay, it's time to file my taxes and I need some help getting my system set up and I don't want to go through what I went through last year. So lots of opportunities for making changes and making our clients' processes better and more streamlined.
So great point with working with new clients, because I think that when new clients come to us, there's a large opportunity to be able to introduce them to new ideas. And part of those new ideas is how do you work together? And so is that something that you go through with new clients, is how you're going to collaborate?
We do. We absolutely do. And actually, it's one of the things that I look at when I'm meeting with a client that I consider as I'm talking to them is how open are they to new ideas? So if I hear words like, well, that's not how we do it, or I don't like that, or things like that, that's an indicator to me that they're very change adverse. And that's probably not a great client for my firm because we are absolutely not change adverse. We're always looking for the better way to do things. So I think that, I know this is kind of off topic of what we're talking about as far as our topic today. But when you are meeting with clients, it's important to kind of gauge, are they right for your culture of your firm? And there's, a lot of it is just experience of learning what worked and what didn't, and making sure that when there is a client that isn't a good fit and you're offboarding them, part of that process is thinking about what made that not a great fit. Because once you identify those areas, then it makes it easier to recognize them in new potential clients that are coming in the door.
Okay, so I think this is fun. So I want to throw this answer or question out there and then see if y'all can answer in chat. How many of you have said to a client, you're not a good fit for us? because I feel like that's super empowering. It takes a little while to get to that point within your firm because you're hungry in the beginning and you're saying yes to everything. And then later on, you start saying, okay, maybe I shouldn't say yes to these types of clients. And even as maybe a type of client in an industry that you're saying no to.
I think people can even raise their hands. Do they have the ability to raise their hands in here?
Yeah, we do.
Raise your hand if you've ever said, nope, you're not the right client for me.
Oh, there goes hands.
There they go.
Isn't that fun? I think it's absolutely. Oh, there we go. Jane said it's okay to say no.
It is okay to say no. In fact, it's sometimes it's better to say no, right?
It is. It's a whenever I reached that point in my firm to be able to say no, I walked away and I was like, oh my gosh, how cool is that?
I've arrived.
I have arrived. I know my type of clients.
Right. No, definitely. Yeah. And Debbie made a great point. Love it, Debbie. She says, I've never regretted when I've said no, and agreed. I have never regretted when I've said no to something, because honestly, you know, they say when you say no to something, now you have a yes that you can save for something better.
Yep.
And when you say yes, you're saying no to a bunch of other things. So you want to be very mindful of what you're saying yes to.
And it's universally true in services, I think, even in our industry. If a client's not a good fit, saying yes is just setting them up for a bad experience, and
right.
Then you're not doing anything that's in the best interest of that client, right? So same is true for you guys.
Same is true. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the other thing is like the gut check, right? When you're talking to a client about it, I really do follow my gut, right? And if I'm talking to a client and I feel myself getting excited about working with them, that's very telling to me. If I'm working with a client and I'm like real apprehensive about it, in some cases, you have to kind of figure out if that uneasiness is because you're taking on an engagement that's going to really challenge you. And that can be like a little like, okay, I'm going to have to really step up. And in that case, you know, those are good, right? Or are you feeling that like, this isn't a great fit. This isn't something that I should be, you know, putting my energy and time into.
Yep. I agree. I definitely think we can't serve all industries. So it's really nice whenever you figure out the industry that you really like working with. And then also being able to say the type of client. So there's a personality type there. And I would even say there's people who like the idea of being in that realm of working with businesses that build them up to sell. That's even a specialty all by itself. So in this idea of people are calling and they're inside of, let's just pretend that they're inside of QuickBooks Desktop and they're not in a hosted environment. Those are going to be the people that I'm going to struggle saying yes to, because I need to be able to empower my team to be able to log in. And I think I've shared here before that we've had some really weird log me in experiences that have turned out to be very blushing moments. So that doesn't end well for us. And that also is another opportunity for being able to say, how do we work together? And that creates this whole need for creating an environment that is hosted. And then at that point, now we can collaborate with them. No more embarrassment, and also no more whose turn is it on a computer. And I'm still seeing a large amount of people who are still doing the log me in type of work, and it's laggy. So we're going to start talking about how do you get out of those environments and how do you get into an environment that's beneficial to everyone. And so whenever I'm thinking about here we are at the year end, one of the things that I start doing is I think about my year-end checklist. And so I'm going through and I'm thinking about what do I need to do in order to get that QuickBooks file ready to move. And I actually do some of it inside of the area, the platform that it's in before I move it. So some of these things that are here are actual tasks that I would do prior to moving it. But I would also say too, sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes I go ahead and I say, wow, you haven't reconciled in 10 years or if ever, or 2 years, whatever. And so I want to be able to not be in that laggy environment. So I'm going to actually recommend that they convert prior to all of the tasks being finalized for year end. So we actually have a checklist here for everybody to download. And so there's a hyperlink that once you have these slides, you can actually click on that hyperlink. And this is going to take you through a year-end checklist that's going to go through what do you want to do. I think you should be seeing my screen. Yeah.
Yeah, we can see your screen. Yep.
Okay. And so you saw the year-end checklist pop up?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So here we've got some of the tasks that you want to complete. Here's some payroll. Here's some other things that you want to keep in mind. So all of this is something that you can download this and utilize it for working inside of your own firm and team. But whenever I'm thinking specifically about QuickBooks, this is where I start to get into what actually needs to happen inside of the QuickBooks file. And this is what I do recommend you do prior to moving a file. So of course, creating that backup of that desktop file. And then one of the things to do is to create that portable company file. And the reason to have that portable company file is it actually creates some links that maybe were previously broken to the data. So if you've got a QuickBooks desktop file and it's been utilized for years and years and years and nobody's ever stopped to actually go and look at the fragments, you're going to want to do that. So you're going to want to click on that F2 button. You're going to want to pull up what's the size of that QuickBooks file? What's the version of that QuickBooks file? Do you need to also think about upgrading? There are solutions that you could think about. If you are going to migrate over into a hosted environment like Swizznet, you might need to think about what are you going to do for your licensing. And then as far as data fragments, this is a big one. And so again, I've got this link here, and this link is going to be a how-to guide. And this is just some tips for along the way. Some of us that work in QuickBooks Desktop all the time, resorting the list. This is a trick that many of you know. If that's something that you're like, what do you mean by resorting list? This is where you can go in and you can actually put in a few, go into like a vendor list, and then you can, or customer list, any of those, and you can resort it. And what that's going to do is any names that are hiding in the background, it's going to actually make sure that those are all visible. So this actually does a bit of reconfiguring of your actual QuickBooks file. The other thing that I'm going to say is you want to make sure that you pay attention to data fragments. This is a biggie. And that's why this guide is here, is I want to make sure that you have a link to how are you going to deal with it. And whenever you're thinking about step-by-step, this is a step-by-step that you can go through that's going to talk about how do you find your data size, how do you find the fragments, who do you need to be logged in as, you can be the admin, are you on the C drive, or are you in a spot where you're more than 5 folders deep inside of a QuickBooks file and you're going to have a hard time locating it. If you don't know, right here on the file information where it says location, that's actually going to tell you where this QuickBooks file is stored so you can know how to navigate to it. I use that whenever I'm working with especially a log me in type scenario where I'm not sure where the client has stored their QuickBooks file, and so they've put it in some random space. I want to be able to move it from there, create that backup, and then have it on the C drive that's available. And then this is a case, this was a real file, and I've got the QuickBooks file fragments that were 150 plus. And so this is a file that what was happening was the balance sheet was out of balance. And that can be a result of those data fragments. And so these are the steps that you can take in order to be able to resolve data fragments. So just kind of a nice list here. Heather, do you have something like this that you go through as well?
To verify, well, yes, we do. We do have a lot of this stuff, and it's really, we actually put all this stuff in our intern practice management, and it's part of our year-end task. So yes, I was going to share, if you can share that article with me. I was sharing people in the chat the link to the Google Sheet so they could view, do the view only and then save it to their own.
Yeah, let's grab that. So let me grab.
I was trying to copy and it said that it was only people added can open with the link. So I think you have to change the permissions. The other one was good though.
Okay, so I'm going to go change that real quick. While I'm working on making sure that that file is available for everybody, I'm going to go ahead and say this is a really great spot for us to be able to start talking about some of the Swizznet conversations. And so at this point, Sam, do you want to start demoing and have slides on your computer, or do you want me to click through the slides?
Yeah, since you are dealing with the permissions thing, I can pull the deck back up and share it, no problem. And while I'm doing that, um, call out that I love that you have that checklist. We have similar checklists that we go over with clients as it pertains to file maintenance, best practices and managing file and dealing with what happens when you hit those list limits, right? Those pro and premier users that are going to be capped out at that 14,500 and letting them know when they need to go talk to the Liz's and the Heathers and say, hey, do I need to move to enterprise, or is there something else we should be talking about doing?
Absolutely. Okay, so that link you should be able to view it now.
Yeah. The other thing that I would just say, Liz, just a quick thing, is that if you guys are using QuickBooks Desktop for accountants or QuickBooks Enterprise for accountants, don't forget that you have that really robust, awesome client data tools that are built right into QuickBooks Desktop Accountant that will help you to go through that year-end process. And it is quite powerful and robust. So if you haven't checked that out, it's probably a topic for another webinar. I'm sure Hector Garcia has done something amazing about the client data review in QuickBooks Desktop. You definitely want to check that out. And I'll throw the name of it in the chat, and then you can just go to Hector's channel on YouTube, and you'll be able to find something on there.
And Liz, if you can just enable screen sharing for me, I'll throw it up there.
Sure, here you go. So you should be able to screen share as well.
And I am in. I'll pick up where you left off. And I think, yeah, if we maybe go through just a couple of slides and then look at the environment, and then I think we can have our toast if that works for you. Oops, I think I'm a little, oh, I'm already at the toast, Liz.
Hey, well, so you've got that slide right here, and yeah, I want to get my drink ready, because what everyone doesn't know is that we actually received care packages.
That's never happened before.
No,
although that's not exactly true. We did receive a care package from ADP last year, which was awesome, but nothing like this. This is cool. They sent us everything to make this drink. It was very exciting. So I'm doing it right now.
Yeah, big thanks to Jane for getting that out there. So you've talked a lot, Liz, about with your engagements, if there's not some sort of a collaboration tool or platform that's generally agreed upon, that it makes it difficult for you to say yes to that client. And so going back to where Swizznet started, not everyone's aware of kind of how we started, where we came from. And if we go all the way back to 2007, we can all agree that technology really just wasn't even remotely what it is today. And so at the time, that technology that existed really required that if an accountant was going to take their business to the cloud, they were going to have to really weigh the pros and cons, because it was going to require oftentimes workflow changes to the way they manage documents, restrictive in the way that they could use multiple monitors and things like that. And so the reason for that is really because the hosting solutions that were around at the time were built by technologists, not by accountants, which makes sense. You guys went to school to learn how to deliver services, not how to build and deliver infrastructure securely, right? So they took that as an opportunity to build something better, engage with technologists, and said, these are our requirements, now go build it, but build it and make sure it's fast, just as fast as we're used to, if not faster, and make sure it can scale. So that's kind of where we started 14 going on 15 years ago. And we're really proud that what we've done has remained with some core values that were determined early on. One of those is obsessive support, and you touched on that when you were talking about your experiences with Swizznet. And even though it wasn't called obsessive support yet, it was, if you look back at the way we were talking about how we support our customers. And so that didn't matter if it was the CFO of a $200 million construction company or if it was the controller of a small business getting off the ground. That level of obsessive support was going to be consistent across the board. And so that's something we're pretty proud of, and I know you've experienced.
Absolutely. And I'll just throw in there that you are 100% genuine when you say it doesn't matter if it's the accountant user or if it's the business user, that end user. It didn't matter either way. We both had absolutely incredible support.
Yeah, I'm glad for that. And so when we try to answer the question, why bother going to the cloud? I think that question's been answered, and the reasons cloud adoption have taken place over the years has remained pretty consistent as well. The cloud promises that anytime, anywhere, any device collaboration in a flexible subscription model, and it promises to increase productivity. But it also promises to keep things secure. And I think that's where we have to be careful when we think about cloud and make sure that we are aware that the cloud in and of itself is not secure, right? It's going to introduce some new vulnerabilities that we didn't experience when we were strictly on-prem and didn't have that internet connection. So we'll keep all of that in mind because that's really central to all of our conversations that we have with our clients. There's two groups that we think about when we talk about hosting internally. We've got our accountants, and that's primarily where we're going to focus today. And those are the people that live and breathe in our environment. They're logged in. They're working for 8 hours, 9 hours, 10. I don't even want to think about the hours during tax season. And then we've got our clients of accountants that are leveraging the environment to collaborate with their accounting professionals. So they've got their real-time collaboration. They're saving all that time and frustration that they experienced with those backups and those portable copies and those accountants copies and those embarrassing log me in situations that can run amok. But I'd say for both, security is really going to be top of mind. So we've got a slide in here to cover at a high level some of the stuff that we do to just make sure that sensitive data is safe. We know that there's everything from the financials to that personally identifiable information that's in there with your employees and their payroll information. And so with all of that in mind, that's where we put our focus and make sure that the data is in those nice, safe, secure SOC 2 compliant environments, whether it's in our private or public cloud infrastructure. And we make sure that we're using best-in-class, best-in-breed solutions like that CrowdStrike solution for that real-time threat hunting, and we make sure we've got that redundancy built in for the backup, so that we've got that true DR, that disaster recovery, that business continuity. Because the last thing that an accountant wants is to be faced with a disaster event and not be able to recover quickly. And so that's why we build in that DR, and we guarantee that 6-hour turnaround time in the event that there were something catastrophic to happen, not days and weeks like we have seen in the past. And I don't know if you've ever had anyone that's experienced any kind of downtime from a server, going amok, or a cyber event.
Sure. I mean, I think that one of the things that, as our industry, we even struggle with being able to make sure that we've got things locked down. So hopefully we can prevent those kinds of scenarios. And I think that as accountants that we do the best that we can to lock down. But I think that more so than ever, security is something that we should be mindful of. We should be paying attention as stewards of our clients' data. How best can we protect ourselves, and how best can we recommend that they protect themselves?
I think we have to. I mean, especially, if you're a tax preparer, you're held by the standards of the IRS, right? That you are required by law to safeguard your client's information. So as accounting professionals, it's not a matter of should. It's kind of, well, I guess it is should. It's not a matter of you could. It's a matter of you should. Right. You gotta.
You gotta.
Yeah.
You gotta.
Yeah, you gotta. And
you gotta do it.
I think we can all agree that the trend that we've been seeing isn't letting up. You know, the cyber attacks continue to gain momentum and scale and pervasiveness and unpredictability. So that's where I think really trusting a security partner comes in to help guide you and navigate those waters and stay abreast of all of the latest threats, and put those protocols in place for you. You know, I mentioned that we were built by accountants, and so I think that this slide really starts to outline why. So it's that flexibility that they were after, the multi-monitor, the local printing and scanning, the easy document management when it came to that drag and drop and copy paste. And for anyone that's used any other sort of remote solutions, I know that there are a ton out there for various use cases. I mean, you can achieve remote access a number of ways, right? There's that VPN. There's that log me in connection, there's that remote desktop connection, and then you can start to add some real flexibility with those Citrix environments and some of those remote app environments. So just the number of options are overwhelming, but the flexibility really is what was the catalyst to Swizznet being founded and how and why we grew into the organization that we are today. And so, without making everyone dizzy, get to the next one there. So the whole idea is that we're taking that really customizable. Liz, you mentioned the special third-party apps that you couldn't find to work anywhere else. So we take that really fully customizable, easy to use solution, and then we're going to wrap it in that obsessive support that we talk about so often. And we're going to ground it all with this multi-layered security approach so that our clients can sleep at night, we can sleep at night, because the last thing any of us want to deal with is a disaster. So the what do we host question comes up a lot, and really it's any software that you use to run your business that gets installed on a computer or server. So that's the short answer of saying that we've seen darn near everything, and certainly every tax software that's out there. And so we've got multiple approaches to servicing clients. So, you know, it's not a one size fits all, right? You've got clients that really just need a simple to use QuickBooks hosting solution to collaborate with their accountants. And then you've got people that really need a partner to take over all of their stack, you know, support their CCH and make sure that they've got their 12 years of Lacertin or Drake available to them all the time, and make sure those updates are getting run. So multiple approaches, not one size fits all, of course. And the really important thing, and just to drive it home one more time, is that all of that's fine and well from a technology perspective, but if the user experience, the customer support experience is well, garbage, right? If it's not optimal, then the rest of it doesn't matter. And so that's why we hang our hat on this slide right here. We do that and we prove it to our end users with that 24/7 phone support, with the chat availability, the tickets, the emails, the heck, we've sent people into offices in really rare cases. And one of the other cool things that we do is we put our entire support organization through that pro advisor training. And certainly we don't expect them to know how to run a balance or look at a balance sheet, right? But they do need to understand what you guys as the accounting professionals are talking about when you call in and say, XYZ isn't working for me. They have to know how to use those tools that Heather mentioned that are native to QuickBooks, and know when and which tool to call up to help work through those problems. And more importantly, when to engage into it if it really is a software issue. Do we drink now?
I'm all in,
Drink now.
Okay, so I'm gonna share. This is what my drink looks like before it's in the cloud.
Oh, wait.
And
And
then,
you're going to put the cloud in?
yeah,
I already put my cloud in, which is why I have like the little
Oh,
finger
your
in it.
cloud
Dissolve.
hold on. I've got mine really, mine's full, y'all. Mine's very full. And so
right.
here's my cloud.
I have more clouds. Here, I have more clouds.
There you go. You've got a cloud.
Goes in.
And then
My
the cloud,
cloud
I want my cloud
also
to go in.
melted. Oh, you can't even see my cloud because it does actually match my shirt, Liz.
And it does actually melt. Oh my
Oh.
gosh, it really does match your shirt. That's great.
And there's a hole in the Twizzler. So
Are
you
you
could
gonna
actually
drink it
use
from the
as a
hole?
straw. Yeah.
I mean, why not, right?
I feel like a kid. I have to use the straw now. That's what they're meant to be, although they're also good snacks. Okay,
They are
okay.
good snacks. Yeah, you know, I have a thing for Twizzlers.
I know. And Jane sent us this really lovely care package that has,
Oh, it's amazing.
so
It had
here's
everything.
our cloud. So our cotton candy is right here with our ingredients, and she sent everything to us. So thank you, Jane.
And she sent us glasses, like really nice martini glasses and Twizzlers, and it was all totally packaged up beautiful.
You know what's funny is I didn't actually have a martini glass before this.
Well, I'm glad we could solve that for you. I
Thanks.
think
Me
I
too.
think it's kind of cool story. We in preparation for the happy hour, we wanted to make sure that we had something to contribute, and so we actually held a contest internally. Everyone submitted their ideas for a unique drink or a unique rebranding
Cool.
of a drink, and this is the one that internally was selected as the winner.
I love it.
I love it. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I won't seal the show with our drink, but it's just, I was blown away with them. So thank you.
It is tasty. Yeah, the entire organization, Hosting Enterprises, Swizznet with our sister company agreed, and there was a close runner up too. So yeah, glad you enjoyed. So I guess just take a minute. We'll kind of show the environment. It's
absolutely.
This is where it gets kind of boring, I think, because it's QuickBooks, right? Everyone knows QuickBooks, but I guess we'll call out some of the uniqueness. So I mentioned that there's a ton of different ways to achieve remote access. So this is just one of the ones that we happen to subscribe to, and I'd say majority of our users are currently using. So it's Citrix, and so there's a couple ways to get to the environment, be it through the application portal, which is really simple, just apps.swizznet.com, right? And you can log in here and access all of your hosted applications that you might have. You can also see some Twitter updates if there's anything operationally that you need to know about. Or you can use this app, and it's just an app that you install, really small, lightweight, Citrix, and from here you launch anything that's hosted. It's tax software, QuickBooks. Maybe you've got multiple years and versions because it's pretty common. You don't have every single client on the exact same year and version of QuickBooks. And when you launch applications via Citrix, what's neat is they launch as published apps. So it looks and feels like I'm running QuickBooks Enterprise on my Mac, which we all know isn't possible. So I can drag it off onto a different monitor. I can use that really cool multi-monitor mode that's built in without feeling like I'm stuck in a remote desktop session like I typically would be on a Mac OS. So it's that real anytime, anywhere, any device access that we talk about all the time when we talk about cloud, and this extends down to iPad. So if I wanted to pull up QuickBooks and run a report on my iPad, I could certainly do that. Don't recommend it for lots of data entry, but good in a pinch for sure. And then from the File Explorer, we also make sure that you have access to not only the hosted drive. So we've got drag that out of the way here. We've got our hosted Z drive. That's just the Swizznet drive, and this is where you're able to, clients are able to manage this folder structure the same way they would with an on-prem file sharing sort of environment. So, on-prem, they've internally got people that are sharing reports and bank recs and whatever the case may be. And then for our accountants that have clients, we provision that client access in a way that the client has access to just their folder. So instead of the financial services provider needing to juggle multiple logins to multiple client accounts within Swizznet, they log in one time and have access to all of the files that they're hosting, not only the ones that they and their teams do 100% of the work for, but also the ones that some of their clients have access to. So it's kind of just a really streamlined way to deliver that and make it easy for the accountant or the bookkeeper. And then any of those third-party apps, Transaction Pro, I know super popular, Bill.com, we see all the time. And so the Microsoft suite of applications, exporting to Excel, doing all of those really key functions that that you would expect to be able to do are all available right there in that hosted environment.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it looks the same on a PC, right?
Identical on a PC. Yep.
Okay. So it feels like, I mean, this is really different from any other hosting that we've seen, in the sense that it really does feel like an app that is locally loaded on your computer. It's got that same look and feel.
Right. Only you're not having to update QuickBooks every time Intuit sends out a revision, right? Because all of that's taken care of in the cloud by our team. So when everyone comes in the morning, they're already on the latest revision that version of QuickBooks has.
So another question that I have is, could you run this in a Chromebook?
Yes. So you can run it in a Chromebook. There is a slight difference though, because it's a Chromebook. Actually, no, I'm going to take that back. The Citrix has come a long way. So there is actually a more up-to-date Citrix cloud that allows for the app. But most typically what we see with the Chromebook, and I actually have a Chromebook on my desk for testing purposes, is just through a web browser. So an HTML look and feel. Let me see if I can pull that up.
While you're pulling that up, I'm going to ask a question. George asked, what is the minimum internet speed for decent Swizznet experience?
That's a loaded question, because it depends on how many people are using that network, that bandwidth. I will say that I am often at trade shows and conferences and working off of a really slow hotspot connection and have no issue. We use this exact same tech to run Swizznet. So when I'm working in this exact same environment that my clients work in. And so not much. I'd say, the minimum recommendation that we have out there is 5 megabits per second down and 2 megabits per second up, which is almost nothing at this point.
Almost nothing.
Yeah, I'm taking myself off mute to tell you that support is telling me it's 10 megabytes per second.
Yes, and
you've experienced less than that, so it's pretty
anecdotally,
low.
I work on 4 and 1, 4 down and 1 up anecdotally regularly, and even in that 6 weeks that I was working from a tent in North Carolina. So we really take that anytime, anywhere access to the extreme sometimes.
Nice. Thank you for answering that.
So this is more typical, and I haven't logged in this way in a really long time, so it's probably a user error. But in a Chromebook, it would open QuickBooks in a browser tab typically. So this is what's called the HTML5. It's it carries the same level of encryption that all of the other access methods have as well. So whether you're accessing from the app portal, accessing from the Citrix client, or accessing from the HTML, it's all going to be 256-bit encrypted with all the same security protocols on the back end. Just a different way of getting in. And
I'm going to call out how brave you are for demoing that live and on the fly.
Well, we trust that things are going to work, I guess. And if they didn't, we could laugh about it together.
Well, sometimes wacky things happen. So I'm going to ask the next question, which is about staff. So managing user permissions for teams.
So the question is, how do we approach it, or how do we help manage it? We manage access to the file structure and the individual files. So who has access to what? The individual in-app permissions are going to be carried up with the file. So if the accountant has admin rights to everything, and a bookkeeper has read-only to some things, and a client isn't allowed to do much because they tend to break stuff, and you have to have Swizznet revert back to an older version, then all that's managed, those permissions are managed within the file.
Nice. So lots of flexibility there as to who is able to work on which client file options there, because different users in the team are going to need different client files to work on.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. And so all of that's managed just through what are called security groups. So we manage the individual user access by predefined group policies.
Nice. And I would even say that that carries over to the end user, that they're going to have some scenarios where, I've got clients that have multiple entities and there's different team members that need access to different files. And so, the same thing is true in those kinds of scenarios.
Yeah, and that extends all the way up to our private cloud. So our clients that may be using Sage software, maybe they're in construction, maybe they're in manufacturing, and their payroll team needs access to all the payroll reports, but they really want to lock down permissions more granularly just into those individual folders internally. So yeah, we manage that all the time for folks.
So I want to take a minute because I see what you have pulled up and it makes me very excited. And so I want to set the scene here by saying one of the missions and goals of Appy Hour and Heather and myself is we really like looking for solutions that do more than just one thing. We really like this holistic approach to how do we make our jobs that are tremendously difficult, how do we make it just even a little bit easier? So whenever we see a solution that has multiple different things going on, we get excited. So I'm not going to steal any more thunder. I'm just going to go ahead and say, Sam, take it away. I'm going to take a drink.
You can steal all the thunder you want. I don't mind at all, but you're absolutely right. So we recognize that there's an evolution of needs. So needs have evolved over time, and we've listened to our clients, and in response to what they've been saying, we have built out this services bundle that's answering to this new need of providing this holistic approach, as you mentioned, to securing access to the cloud. Because now it's not uncommon for folks to have 3 or 4 SaaS, right, software as a service, those web-based solutions that are in place for things like payroll, time and expense management, and they've got this other cloud over here for desktop QuickBooks hosting, or Drake, or Lacert, or CCH, and then they've got their Microsoft cloud over here. And so being able to put a security wrapper around the entire set of business solutions means that business owners, business leaders can focus on really what their charter is, which is to grow their own business, not play IT support and security advisor internally. And so to that end, Swizznet is what we built out. And even taking a step back further, I think if we look at it in terms of business models, there was a time when if you want to start a business, you needed to understand what your business model was going to be. And then you wrap the technology, or you pulled the technology pieces in that were going to support your business model. And what we've seen is a shift to really technology driving that business model. So as these software companies have moved from the typical, what was called a perpetual license, you bought it one time, it might have been super expensive, might not have cost that much, you installed it on your computer and you used it. We're starting to see, as they shift to that subscription model and they start changing the way they're delivering that technology is driving business models as you start to adopt those new tools and services. And so you're having to adapt. Other reasons we're seeing that adaptation really has to do with the driving need for tech to make it easier to work from anywhere. Using the cloud, having remote workers has always been something that's been desired, but I think especially now, as we move into this kind of post-pandemic world, it's hard enough to find and let alone retain good talent. But if one of their requirements, one of their needs is technology that's going to empower them to provide their value to the business from anywhere, then offices that haven't already adopted some sort of technology to make that possible are going to find that they're shifting their model, they're shifting their policies, they're shifting their procedures to accommodate for that, so that they can continue growing their businesses. I think probably most importantly, as we talk about cloud. And I mentioned most people at this point, most organizations have multiple clouds that they're working in. If you want to think of each one of those products and services as being in different clouds, is needing to secure access to all of that stuff. So that's really kind of central to this whole SwizzStack idea that we've been talking about. We know that the messaging is really confusing to accountants right now about what best practice looks like and what their regulatory requirements are going to be. And so we're watching that really closely and staying ahead of it, and serving really as advisors to our clients who come to us and say, I don't know what's going on. I know what California is doing. I know what Pennsylvania is doing. I have no idea what Arkansas is doing right now, though. So can you help me just get in front of it and future-proof some of this business need that's coming at us? And so that's what we're doing with this, is really just trying to solve for that and make it easier for folks in accounting and construction to focus on what they do best, and that's serving their clients.
You know, and I would definitely say, in light of what you're offering, wow, it's really nice to be able to have a phone line to be able to call, or a chat to support with, to be able to say, can you help with XYZ? You know, I laugh because one of the things that we didn't know that we went to school for was IT.
Right.
And yet it's a big part of what we often spend our time doing, especially since we are a tech heavy firm. So we want to utilize as much tech that's out there as possible, but that doesn't mean that we want to ensure all of the support of all of it. So that's where you come into these bundlings to be able to say, yes, we've got support, and yes, we've got security. And, you know, Heather and I talk about implementing a solution. You're getting inside of that a whole list of different features. Make sure that you're looking at all the features that are available to you. And in this case, security is something that a lot of us don't want to dive into and trying to figure out what's the latest, what's the newest, what's the greatest. Instead, we want to be able to implement a solution who you've got the tech team to be able to support that. You've got the security team looking at that. And all we want to do is be able to make sure our client's taken care of.
That's it. And I think that as we grow into 2022 and beyond, this slide really sums it up. We're going to continue doing what we've been doing, but in a deeper and more holistic way. And we're going to be an extension of our clients' teams and of our clients' teams. That's our aim. And I think that's where we're going to see a lot of growth this year, and looking forward to that.
It's definitely an area that needs attention. So we're glad that it's getting some.
Well, I'm gonna stop sharing and let you go back. I know you've got some stuff to talk about there. I've been stealing all of the time.
We're happy to have you here. It's always a pleasure to have top level support come in and talk to us and lead us through all the various different questions. And you are so knowledgeable that you are the perfect person to spend time with us. I appreciate it. Do we want to talk about specials? Because you have a couple of things going on.
Yes, I totally forgot. And thank you. We actually, we stood up a page, swizznet.com/appy-hour. We've got a promo code out there, Appy Hour. So any of your friends that wanted to come and take a look at what we're doing, we're going to offer them 50% off of our hosting services for 3 months, plus 3 free months of that multi-factor authentication that we don't think people adopt enough, but really is going to be pretty central in their own internal cybersecurity policies moving forward.
And you've got some cool ways that you're handling the multi-factor authentication.
We do have some cool stuff coming. We do. Maybe we'll save that for another Appy Hour in the future.
Yeah, we'd love that. We would absolutely love that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that today we were really grateful to be able to look at Swizznet and be able to look at the solution that you're offering and the various things that are incorporated within that. And then I want to say to everyone, check out our website, check out our YouTube, make sure that you're following us to get the latest information, and then also look at those recordings that exist. We do have a Happy Hour Facebook Lounge group that we can communicate back and forth about apps and how best to utilize them. And then I'm excited about this upcoming episode. We have 2 different deep dives that are up and coming next week. On the 18th, we're going to be doing a deep dive part 1. In this deep dive part 1, we're going to be going through how do you set up, who's a really good candidate. And then I am a practice ignition person who's coming back to it. I utilized it in our firm for a while, and now I'm getting to come back from I want to say a brand new user point of view. So how would a newbie adopt it? And what are the things that I need to do in order to get it set up? Super fun. And then in the part 2, this is where Heather's going to be really talking more about what templates are available. She was kind of saying earlier that we have some templates that we're sharing. So her firm actually utilizes Practice Ignition in a big way. So she's going to be also sharing some of her tips and tricks during that 20th episode.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Scribe How, oh my gosh, if you have not heard of them, I'm going to say this is a do not miss episode. Scribe How is all about documenting your workflow. So we struggle with that as a industry. And so how best to capture the way that we do client work and the way that our client does their own work. This is going to be a really great tool for documentation.
Absolutely. I'm really excited. Well, this was awesome. I learned a ton, and yeah, thank you so much for an amazing episode, Sam.
Well, thank you. Great being on.
And Jane, thank you for the amazing drink. So creative and so much fun.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having us.
It was super fun. And I'm going to go ahead and say over inside of chat, I see somebody who's over here. Miriam, you're asking about pricing. If you would like to have Swizznet reach out to you, can you just throw your email address over inside of chat? And that way we can forward that along to Swizznet.
I have a poll. Why don't I launch the poll?
Oh, thank you. Yes.
So I'm going to go ahead and launch the poll.
I appreciate that. Yes. And if you answer yes, then what we're going to do is make sure that we share these your contact information with them. Otherwise, we're the website will have this episode on there, the recording, and then also the slides, and then we'll have those hyperlinks available for you to also download.
I can't mark yes, but I want to learn more too. So please, Sam, have somebody reach out to me for sure.
We know where to find you, Heather.
Yes.
That's right.
And just as a reminder, anybody that's shy now, they can always, you're going to send the deck out, the links there, swizznet.com/happy-hour. So
awesome.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to count everybody down. We've got about half of you have participated. I'm going to count you down. There's still time. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Thanks, everybody. And we'll make sure that we get your names over to our friends at Swizznet. So super excited. Thank you so much. This is fantastic. Great way to start off 2022.
Yes.
Agreed.
Thanks for having us, guys.
And cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Here's to a great 2022.